Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. So, some quick updates on the 84 C10. I got the front end done here. Headlights and brights and turn signals have been installed. Did all the wiring, brand new pigtails, brand new grille, and then I fixed the old trim on the new grille and ended up using the same headlight bezels that I had stock already before. Whether or not they're originals, I honestly don't know. But the ones from the ones from Brothers Truck didn't match the grill because there was no section there to put the existing bezel, which is kind of weird. So I returned those. This is a quick mention on that. Brothers is really, really bad when it comes to returns. I've had a lot of problems. So if you want their grill, it's great quality grill, but be warned, everything else about them I really would not recommend. If you see some rust down here, that's because I took off the chin spoiler here, and two of the bolts, the only two that are on the outside of the chin spoiler, um, which I'm assuming took the most, you know, road wear from water and what have you. They sheared off, uh, and then the other ones came off all right, but they're super rusty. I have a brand new front chin spoiler from LMC, so this will go there instead. I think this is what was contributing to that problem, is that there's a metal bracket here for those two outside bolts, and I think the metal bracket rusting contributed to the nut rusting as well. And that's the reason why only those two outer ones sheared off, whereas these inner bolts here were fine. Other than that, as far as the engine goes, I made some progress here to share about. I ended up finding a replacement fuel line here from the carb to the pump, to the filter, sorry, from a junkyard. So the original, if I remember where I put it, which I probably don't, I have no idea where I put it. The original was basically a macaroni kindergarten school project of just hoses clamped on hoses, clamped on hoses. And because of that, it was completely right angle degree kinked in two spots, not allowing fuel to go through. And in order to get a cold start without a previous start having, with fuel in the line, ended up taking like 10, 11 pumps on the gas pedal in order to get fuel in, which is a crazy amount of pressure, way more than you should ever need. You should only need like 2 or 3. And the mechanical fuel pump down there is brand new, so I knew it wasn't that. I had the distribution cap tested, it wasn't that. You start going through everything one by one, and fuel line. So fuel line's in place, and right now, as you can see, the valve covers are off. Gaskets are going to be put in. I have, the reason why it's stopped right now, I have new valve covers coming in, just because these ones are kind of old and grody. I had them coming in from Amazon on Monday. And what's interesting, I don't know if you'll be able to see or not. Let's see. What's interesting, my 305, I have one hole there, and then 2 here. And most of the ones for 305 that you find only have 1 on each end, which would make it so I wouldn't be able to fill the oil through there. I'm not really sure as to why. And what's interesting about that, the reason why I think something is up, is because that fuel line here, I ordered the fuel line. I don't have my keys on me, it's in the Subaru right now. I ordered a fuel line from LMC Truck, which should have been correct for this year and for this engine, and it was going a completely different direction. Basically, it both this kink and the kink on the bottom were going in the same way instead of opposite ways, which is what I need. And I'm starting to think that maybe I could be wrong here, but maybe that there were different configurations in later years. I don't know how long the 305 was used for, but maybe this 305 isn't original and it's dropped in from a newer motor, because the 305 for my year should only have one hole on each valve cover, and the line here, the carb to filter line, should be the shape that LMC Truck gave me. But regardless, was able to find one, so that's good. One thing of note, all the other small block Chevys, other than the one that this was pulled from, all had the whole macaroni, project of a kindergartner of hose, clamped on part of a line, clamped on hose. And I think I'm starting to figure out as to why. I don't think the last guy was necessarily stupid, being that everyone seems to be doing this in these junkyard, Chevys. I think what ends up happening is that when you take the fuel line off the carburetor, or when you're trying to put it on the carburetor, people end up kinking it, because basically the part where people are putting hose to reconnect things is like here up, which basically means that it's always on either end of where it connects, not in the middle of the line. So I think what's happening is that people are, because it's very easy to kink, people are, when they're removing it, accidentally kinking the line, and then when they do so, they chop it off and just jerry rig it with some rubber hosing. But the problem is that if you're going at a turn like this with rubber hosing, it's going to kink just inherently. And maybe it didn't kink when it was brand new, but after a couple of years, and the rubber starts to break down, especially out here in a dry Arizona heat, maybe it just started to slowly collapse from the pressure. Because one thing I noticed is that when the fuel line was taken off, the rubber hosing stayed perfectly in place at the angle that it was at, and had that crease on the corner, which means it's not like springing back to life and wanting to fight and go straight again. So I'm actually thinking, when he initially did the modification, the last owner, it might have worked just fine. Past that, went ahead and installed a new coolant tank here. The existing one is supposed to be here. Looks like a lot of space on film, but it's really not, because once you have the battery here, forgive my mess, once you have the battery here, and you have the radiator here, and then you have terminal wires for the battery like down here, coming over here and across, basically your tank is kind of down below and below the battery terminal wires, which means if you ever want to fill up the tank a little bit, or God forbid just see what the cold level is, good luck, because it's like way down in there. And this thing was getting grody and old anyway, and the cap wasn't really staying on there very well, so I just ended up replacing it. What I ended up doing is, there's a jack stand that's supposed to be here with this bolt and a bolt that goes here, and I didn't have a jack stand anyway, and from what I hear, they usually go to kind of crap anyway as far as rust. So I ended up using the one existing bolt here for the jack stand to hold down the coolant tank here. I tapped 2 new holes, try to spin you guys around, right here on the front and the wheel well, so it's nice and secure. This lip wanted to go out instead of down. Most people don't have to do this mod, because I've seen this mod done by other Chevy C10 owners, but for whatever reason, and again, I'm not really familiar with what trim offered what, I have a Scottsdale, and maybe the customs don't have these hinges here for the hood. I don't know if it's like just a normal stick holding it up or whatever, but like my hinge here doesn't clear the tank when I tried putting the hood down. So I needed to push the tank further out into the center of the engine bay a little bit to give it that clearance. This thing, it looks like there's a lot more room than there is, but it barely clears and it goes straight down in here. Because I had to do that and this had to come out, this doesn't hug the wheel well anymore, that lip. So I ended up taking a heat gun to it and pushed it down and then bolted it down, because otherwise it was pushing the bolt up and it wasn't allowing the self-tapping bolt to actually go into the metal. So did that. Again, forgive the mess, but new battery tray here installed. I can't do that one-handed, sorry. Installed rather well. Not exactly the right size here. I felt like I needed a bolt hole between these bolt holes, but once I got this one installed, well, the bottom one first, but once I got this one installed, it kind of tweaked the battery holder in place enough for me to just get this started to thread and then install that. And then, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. Oh, right, I almost forgot. So this will be done by Tuesday, hopefully. Just need basically all this back together. So once the valve covers come in, put those on, gaskets will be there. Just button everything up, put the alternator back on over there, put the fuel cleaner or air cleaner back on, and fuel line's already installed, so it really doesn't take too awful much. And then I should be good to go, fingers crossed. We'll see. And then, like I said, I need to install that chin spoiler, but I need to get new hardware because that hardware is gross. And last but not least, and this was the reason why you always stay till the end of the video, after many days of tireless work, I got the new bumper on. Boy, was it a bitch. The last bolt, of course, ended up being the hardest. It actually took me a couple days to get it off. I had a breaker bar, I was using penetrating oil. It didn't matter what the hell I did, it did not want to come off. And then randomly yesterday, I took a normal socket wrench to it and it budged. So wiring is done for the license plate, lighting, and yeah, the bumper looks great. So now I no longer have some odd black bumper when everything on the truck is chrome, which never really made any sense. And it's even got an original Reagan bumper sticker on the back there, which matches the year of the truck, which is an 84. So I thought that was kind of cool. Otherwise, it's in great shape. It's not bent up or broken or anything like that. And like I said, it's one more thing that I can honestly say that I'm more familiar with the truck on, because now I know exactly what I have to do in order to go ahead and get that off the frame. And that would be basically my parting wisdom here as someone who's new to all this is the more I do, as daunting as it can be sometimes, the more it just makes me comfortable with this thing. And I know what I'm doing for next time, and I realize just how simple the truck is all in all, because it really isn't a very difficult truck to work on. And the more I do, the more I realize I can do, and gives me more confidence for other projects in the future. I mean, so if you are considering doing something like this, or you have started, maybe you just purchased one and you haven't gotten to wrenching on anything yet, my suggestion would just be to start. The worst thing that you can do is not know what you're doing. And then there's usually tons of groups on Facebook or whatever have you, people that can help. I had someone come over yesterday from one of the Facebook groups for C10s and pick up the black bumper. Of course, theirs was all twisted and nasty from being hit by God knows how many different things in the past. And yeah, so they were going over the truck and giving me some pointers on things that I should button up. Some things I already knew about, and some things I didn't. And it's helpful. So anyway, appreciate you guys staying until now. Hopefully it was worth it. And like I said, I will get a video out here midweek, hopefully showing this thing running, because ultimately that's the goal. It's been way too long since I've been able to drive it, and it's been really annoying, but we'll get there. Anyway, Daz out.